Hello and welcome to my documentary, Are Disney Princess Films Inappropriate? Now, the Disney company is worth $130 billion, with the highest grossing film from them being Frozen 2, released in November 2019, worth $1.32 billion. Disney is a company that is very well known among families. In any shop, you could find something Disney related. Shoe shops have Disney shoes, supermarkets have Disney cakes, and stationery shops sell anything from Disney pencils to Disney notebooks and etc. But it is all very well and good making money off merchandise. But the princess films themselves, you have to ask yourself if they're appropriate for children aged 6+. I chose Disney princess films because these films are shown to children aged 6 and up, and most children are showing them from a very young age. But even you have to ask yourself, are these films appropriate for children? Because even I, myself, a Disney lover, has asked myself if there are inappropriate themes in these children films. Whereas other films in the Disney franchise, like Pirates of the Caribbean, are very much too violent and aged 12+. So I stuck with something that would be quite open to a lot of people, regardless of gender, and would have been shown at a very young age. The Disney princess films have been showing since 1938, which means that a lot of people would have been exposed to these type of films a lot more than some of their recent franchises, like the Pirates of the Caribbean. So I asked on my social media Instagram the following question: do you think Disney princess films are inappropriate? A whopping 74% of people said no. However, 26% said yes. So I asked volunteers via a poll whether they wanted to take part in my documentary by sending in videos answering 3 questions. 1. What was their favourite Disney princess film?
My favourite Disney princess movie has to be Tangled, 100%.
My favourite Disney princess movie, I would say, is Frozen.
So I'm going to be answering 3 questions about Disney films. I have the questions right here. The first one is my favorite Disney film. My favorite Disney film is Pocahontas. I love all Disney films. I love Disney in general, but Pocahontas is one of my favorite Disney films.
Hello, my name is Catherine. My favourite Disney princess film is Beauty and the Beast, and personally it's my favourite film.
Okay, so my favourite Disney princess is Rapunzel.
2. Why?
There's many reasons why. Like, it's just a great film. But I think one of the main reasons I love that film is because Rapunzel herself, she defines the rule of being the damsel in distress, and I love the fact that she's the powerful one in most of the situations, and she's out there fighting all these people. She does it all barefooted, which is just great. And I love the fact that it's made to be a woman doing that.
For the fact that it shows great, like, girl power, you know, like, be yourself, don't let other people bring you down, just show your true self. It also has great music, which is probably one of the reasons why a lot of people like it so much.
Why do I love Pocahontas? Well, the storyline behind it, basically, like, she is a Native American and she falls for a white man, and her family does not approve of it. And for someone who is half white and half Asian, 2 different races, I have struggled with people judging my family for being together when one's a white man and one is a completely different ethnicity, and I don't think that stuff is okay. I think that anyone can be with who they want to be with, and I just love the storyline because she ends up being with him in the end.
Because when I was growing up, I remember I used to love Belle, and I think because I had this like long brown hair, I used to look a lot like her, and I used to love that the dishes and like all these inanimate objects used to come to life. I think I used to find that really, really magical, and I always really liked their love story a lot, how even though he wasn't the cutest prince, she still fell in love with him, so that's why I liked it as a kid.
The reason why it's Rapunzel is because I like the storyline, and I don't know, I just like the princess really. Don't really have a preference, just probably my favourite if I had to put it on paper.
And 3 overall, do they think Disney princess films are inappropriate?
I personally don't feel that Disney movies aren't. I don't feel that they're inappropriate. But there are in some cases where they can seem inappropriate, mainly to adults, because they drop little hints of like certain jokes or innuendos that most kids won't get. But yeah, in general, Disney movies, I don't feel that they're inappropriate, and most people wouldn't think that they're inappropriate. And yeah.
Do you think they're inappropriate? I am mixed feelings about this. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about Disney films, that they have a lot of sexual references and dark references, and they're a bad influence on children. But in my opinion, I love Disney films. When I have my own kids, I'm not going to keep them from watching them. I think that they sometimes have references, but kids are too little to understand these references. They're just looking at them because of the songs and the dances that they have, and they want to be princesses and they want to be this. So I think Disney films could be inappropriate for adults, like, because we understand it, but for children, I don't think that they understand it, and I don't think it's inappropriate for them, and I don't think that it's something that needs to be stopped or kids need to stop watching, because Disney is where the magic happens, and a lot of kids love Disney. I know, I live in Florida. Disney's 3 hours away from me. I love going to Disney, and a lot of families bring their kids to Disney's because they like to see all the princesses and the music and stuff like that. So no, I don't think Disney films are inappropriate to the extent that you need to have your kids stop watching them.
In terms of whether Disney princess films are appropriate, probably the film I've chosen is like the worst example, because if you really think about it, like, she had Stockholm syndrome, which is not great, and as a kid obviously I didn't care, I thought it was cute, but as me now as an adult, I do find it a bit like, because obviously it's not great. She fell in love with him under horrible circumstances. In terms of showing it to younger kids, I still think, say if I had kids in the future, I still think I would show my kids Disney princess films, just because they resonated so much with me, and like still to this day, like, I just really love them. They were a comfort for me. It just so happens that I've grown up and realised how the stories are in some ways toxic, but I think as a way of comfort, I think Disney princesses are really, truly, like, they were there for me growing up, and I really, really like them.
And do I think Disney princess films are kind of inappropriate? To some extent, yes, because I feel like they're quite sexist, that it's always the damsel in distress, like something's happened to the princess and there's always a man having to try and come and save her. So I can see as to why people find it inappropriate, and I think to some extent that it's always like the same storyline, like the princess is in danger and then the prince comes and saves her. So I do understand why people would think that's inappropriate, and I think that can be inappropriate to some extent, but because they're kids' movies, nobody really thinks about that until you're older. So if you had to look at it deeply, then that's why I would say they're inappropriate.
So I watched all the main Disney princess films, ranging from 1938 to 2016. I made notes as I watched each film. I ended up splitting them into 2 groups. Group 1 was princesses that, yes, were socially and politically inaccurate, but did not have any underlying inappropriate themes. Starting with Snow White, Merida, and Moana. Merida and Moana are empowered women, as the films for them portray them sorting out their own problems, being the main characters throughout the whole film. However, both of these characters, both of these princesses, do not seem to realise danger when they are put in a serious situation. For example, Moana takes herself out beyond the reef with going against her father's wishes, which puts her in danger, and she cannot sail, so in rough waters she nearly drowns. Merida takes herself off on an adventure into the woods, which ends up with her climbing a huge cliff with no safety measurements, no safety precautions, no harnesses, no nothing. She could have easily fallen to her death. Snow White is the same, but a little bit different. Snow White is very dependent on the men in her film. She lets them control her fate. For example, with the huntsman is set by the evil queen to kill Snow White. However, Snow White pleads for her life and is let go by the huntsman because he does not want to kill a young girl. Secondly, when Snow White goes into the 7 dwarfs' home, they are technically 7 men. She walks in and she does not have any danger of who could be in there. She walks in with no sense of danger, not taking any precautions. She goes through their things and waits for them to come home. This is such a dangerous thing to do, and to show to a small child could be quite damaging to their morale. And showing to a child that the dwarfs accept her, even though she's come into their home uninvited, may show to a child that it's okay to go into people's houses without knowing the person or knowing who they are, and that may put children in a dangerous situation. When she's in the 7 dwarfs' home, when she wants them to let her stay, she says that she would do the cooking, the cleaning. Stereotypically, in the 1930s, this was something that women were asked to do. Women were expected to clean and to cook. So the fact that Snow White is saying that this is what she will do if the men will let her stay, men who she hasn't met properly or in a safe environment and doesn't know anything about, puts her in a very dangerous situation. Just like Moana and Merida, she does not understand the sense of danger and taking precaution. Even with the time period difference, where women were viewed in 1938 as staying at home and being less powerful than men, comparing to 2016 where women are now empowered to be independent and powerful, there still is that common theme of lack of sense of danger. Now moving on to group 2. These were the Disney princess films that were highly inappropriate. This exposes children to very serious issues at a very young age. But the way the film is designed is to make the serious themes look less serious with more funny or memorable parts of the film, like the singing, like the happy ending, so on and so forth. Our first film we're looking at is Pocahontas. Pocahontas is filled with racial slurs. Young children watching this film may not understand the messages behind this film and how derogatory calling Native Americans savages are. Our second princess in this category is Cinderella. Cinderella is a classic example of child slavery. She is completely, utterly a slave in her own home. She is made to do every single chore in the house with no rewards at all. She doesn't get to enjoy clothes that are made of fine things like the rest of her family. She is put in rags and she is very distinctly dressed different and treated differently than the other characters in her home. If you notice in the film of Cinderella, she is the only real... If you notice in Cinderella, her room is the only bedroom in the house that has a lock on it. This suggests that she gets locked in her room a lot. This is later proven later on in the film when the Duke comes over to try on the glass slipper. Cinderella is locked in her room by her stepmother to stop her having the chance of trying on the glass slipper. Cinderella has been working as a child slave since she was very young. Cinderella has been neglected in her house since her father passed away and she was left in the custody of her stepmother. Number 3 is Frozen. Frozen is not the princesses directly, which makes them a little bit different. However, there are certain lines in Frozen that are very, very inappropriate. The scene where the trolls mistake Kristoff and Anna of getting engaged and married, one of the female trolls suggests to Kristoff to take his clothes off in front of everybody. She doesn't say go anywhere, she just says to take his clothes off. This is a very inappropriate sexual remark. Also, there has been rumours that for the third instalment of Frozen, that Elsa is to get a girlfriend. Now, the LGBTQ plus community already gets tons of hate crime already. In America, not all states have laws that protect the LGBTQ plus community. For a big company to take a very well-known and successful title and to put something in that does challenge modern day issues is a very, very tricky situation. Disney will have to take very good care of how they go about this, as this could increase the amount of hate crimes against the LGBTQ plus community. Not that this is fully inappropriate, it's just the way that they go about it and how that they perceive Elsa as having a girlfriend will be very, very, very hard, considering that the audience is a very wide. Our fourth princess is Mulan. Mulan is very, very inappropriate. It showcases how in ancient China they didn't believe in women having rights to speak to a man unless he speaks to her. Women were looked at for their beauty and how they were as a housewife. When Mulan tries to speak to the general's advisor, he completely dismisses, telling her father that he needs to teach her how to speak in the presence of a man. Mulan also touches on a very chilling subject. The fact that men are allowed to fight for their country and bring honour to their family, but women cannot, and if they do, they will be killed. This touches on a very chilling part of China's history. When China introduced the one-child law, there was thousands of abandoned girls in China, girls that were thrown into foster care, hidden from the rest of the world, from the public view, because people wanted to have boys to bring their family honour. It even went as far as infanticide. The amount of infanticide against female babies went up very, very high in China. This film opens a very chilling subject and is a very inappropriate topic to be bringing to a child's attention. Our fifth princess film is Princess and the Frog. This is the scene where Tiana and Naveen have entered into the bayou. They are running away from these alligators and Tiana ends up in a hole in the tree. Naveen begs for her to help him and she says no, and then she does help him and they end up in the tree trunk. The viewer can only see the outside the tree trunk, not the two frogs inside. Naveen says in a very wooing tone, "Get comfortable." Tiana reacts to this saying, "Get your slimy self away from me." This scene plays on sexual harassment. The way that it is said and what is suggested that is going on in the tree trunk suggests sexual harassment. The fact that this is played off in kind of a jokey tone, the way that the scene is made, suggests that they are trying to make sexual harassment seem funny. For a child, seeing that, what Naveen is saying is wrong. He is suggesting that him and Tiana need to get comfortable and get close, and this suggests something sexual. The way that this is played off as a joke, and Tiana says, "No, get your slimy self away from me," tells you that she is trying to tell him not to come near her. This is something that a child may find funny and might take in the wrong way. Again, the message of sexual harassment is not clear here, whereas to an adult it's more clear, or a teenager. A young child may not understand this concept of Tiana's trying to tell Naveen to stay away from her when he is unwantingly getting close to her. Number 6 is The Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid has a few things that are inappropriate, especially on the cover of the DVD. But in this video, we're going to be talking about the scene where Sebastian has entered into the chef's kitchen. Now, Sebastian is a crab, so his people are fish. So the way that we see each other as humans, he sees his friends who are fish, basically like how we see humans, people, humane. Well, when Chef is in the kitchen, he is using a knife, a big, like a cleaver. He's using a big cleaver knife to cut off the fish's heads. He's openly showing him pulling fish apart and fish laid up all on the side dead. And Sebastian's face is absolutely horrified. Now this is played off again to be funny, but what Sebastian is witnessing is basically like a genocide. And to make genocide funny in the sense of it's fish, and try and dull down the fact that because it's fish we don't see it as the same. If you see it through Sebastian's eyes, he can see his own people being slaughtered. This is themes of genocide. Again, this is an inappropriate theme for young children to be watching. Number 7 is Aladdin. In the dungeon, when Jafar has got control of Genie, Aladdin sneaks in trying to help Jasmine and the Sultan sneak away. When he does this, Jasmine sees him and tries to distract Jafar. She does this by kissing him. Jafar is very clearly a lot older than Jasmine, and she still kisses him on the lips in a very passionate way. Again, this is inappropriate to show a child, because the message they could take away from this is that if you are in a situation where you need to help your friends, you have to do what you got to do to help them. And this is one of the things that they could end up doing. This is completely wrong. Also in Aladdin, there are lots of themes of violence. There are lots of things where Jafar has plots to kill people. He plots to kill Aladdin. He plots to kill the Sultan. He plots to kill, and he plots to take over Agrabah. This is very violent and again not appropriate for younger children. Number 8. Number 8 is Sleeping Beauty. Now, Sleeping Beauty has themes of forced marriage and child marriage. The reasons why is in the very beginning of the film, Aurora and Philip meet when they're very young. Aurora is literally a newborn. She is only a few days old. Aurora is literally a newborn. She's literally a few days old. Aurora is a newborn. She's literally a few days old. When Philip meets her, he is literally a child, around about the ages of 6 to 8. When the kings come together, when she is in the cot, they talk about how that Philip and Aurora will be betrothed to each other. This is their decision. Philip and Aurora do not even know each other yet, and their fathers are putting them together for marriage. When they are older, the storyline is that when Aurora is 16, she will prick her finger on a spinning wheel, and she will fall into a deep sleep. So when Aurora is 16, providing if Philip is actually 6 years old, he would be 22 by the time that Aurora is 16. Aurora would be a minor if she was in Britain. This is represented in Germany, but still the age difference is highly inappropriate. And again, a child might not make a lot of sense of this, but even if they were at the age where they saw this and saw that their parents were happy with it, they may take away that this is an okay thing to do, which it isn't. Again, putting forward, child marriage is an inappropriate. The fact that they are in an arranged marriage and they don't have a choice who they marry shows that this is forced, that they have to bring the kingdoms together. So again, it falls on their responsibility at a very young age. Number 9 is Beauty and the Beast. Now, Beauty and the Beast plays on emotional harassment. This is when Gaston constantly tries to get Belle to marry him. Even when she subtly and bluntly tells him she doesn't want to marry him, he persists on and keeps trying to get her to marry him, to the point where he even blackmails her that if she does not marry him, he will get her father taken away to an asylum for being crazy. This is such emotional harassment, and she constantly tells him this is not okay. As a film, this is made to be funny in some ways, where Belle constantly tries to get rid of him and sometimes he falls over and it's in a funny way. But there's a serious message behind this, that this is emotional harassment. But how this is going to be conveyed to a young child is very inappropriate. It's very inappropriate for a young child to be watching it, as they might not understand that what Gaston is doing is wrong. And finally, number 10 is Tangled. Now, Rapunzel is a victim of kidnapping. Rapunzel is taken from her family from when she was a baby. She is locked up in a tower for 18 years. This is not just a story of a girl getting her freedom. This is a really inappropriate film that actually showcases how horrific it must be for somebody who's been taken away from their family and thinks that their kidnapper is their parent. And this might not be conveyed to children how serious this situation is. And when they see that Rapunzel throughout the film ends up back with her family, they may generate the idea that they actually will that if they ever get taken, they will eventually go back to their family. When statistics show from the Exploited and Missing Children's Association that 20% of non-family children end up being found dead. So Cinderella was a film that was made at the end of the reign of Hitler. Now, something to make very clear is that the way that Cinderella is designed. Now, if you know anything about World War II, Hitler had a very specific idea what the perfect race would be, and that was the Aryan race, and it was where you had white skin, blue eyes, and blonde hair. Now, if you look at most of the older princesses, a lot of them have blonde hair, blue eyes, Aurora and Cinderella. Especially Cinderella was made around the same time as Hitler's reign in Germany. This is a really inappropriate factor because both Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty are based in Germany. So this goes to show that underlying in the storyline, if you really do your research, there are really inappropriate things that are actually put into the storylines, and it makes you think, why does Cinderella have to have blue eyes? Why does she have to have blonde hair? Why do they have to be so young? As you can see in a lot of these films and examples, that Disney try and cover up a lot of these inappropriate themes with happiness and funniness, and whenever you ask somebody what they remember from a film, they remember the more light-hearted, funny moments rather than these horrific moments. So how does this make you feel as a viewer? Would you still show Disney princess movies to children? Has your mind been shifted? This is all from me. I hope you have a good day and stay safe. Domi signing off.